it today and be able to use it if you were teaching tomorrow. And I'll give you, lots of examples on that. We're also going to focus this morning on technology in the Big Six. To foreshadow, it's not technology is over here and the classroom is over here, the library and information skills is over here. We really bring it all together in an integrated thing. And we'll do a little sleight of hand and magic work and whatever. We'll talk first about what technology today and tomorrow is. And, those of you who are tech coordinators or involved with technology, we all know that it's almost impossible to keep up on this stuff. And it's changing constantly. And one of the questions is, how do we deal with that kind of situation? Well, I think one of the ways is by thinking of what the technology does in terms of information skills and information problem solving. And then it almost doesn't matter what technology is out there. You can integrate it right in. Then we need to develop that whole process of what does it mean if I do a project on, we'll talk about elementary school, if I'm doing it on whales, right? What does it mean to do a project on whales, What does a project on whales entail? And what is it supposed to look like? And how does it feel? And is it supposed to have some direction? Am I supposed to be talking about endangered whales? Or are whales now become a threat to fishing in society or something like that? And what types of information do I need and where would I get that information? Then I can worry about locating it. So we need to think about the full process on those things, okay? There's another definition from ASCD, in case you didn't like the ALA one. This kind of sounds like Calvin, doesn't it? Information literacy, the ability to locate, process, and use information effectively, equips individuals to take advantage of the opportunities inherent in the global information society. Al Gore's talking about this stuff, right? I worked with a group of corporate execs at the Aspen Institute, which is this big, corporate think group. And what are they talking about? They're talking about information literacy among their workforce, among the people in their corporation, and in K-12 education. And it's considered such an important thing because they feel that when they say they don't know how to think, they don't know how to, they don't have the skills they need. Of course they can't have the skills they need, right? It is something like 80% of the jobs that people are in today weren't in existence 20 years ago. We're a service economy for the most part today, and an information economy, and not an industrial economy. Who could have predicted that? Who could have trained people for that? And so we need to talk about these information literacy type skills. Let's operationalize it. What do we really mean by this? It's great to talk in that flowery stuff and whatever, but I promise you practical. Practical is the Big Six. Big Six is what we mean by information literacy. And if you will turn to that page 10, you see it. Okay. Information. 6 simple steps that are fairly easy to remember, okay? First stage is task definition. That means what is my job, all right? What is my task, and what is the information needed? I'm going to come back and talk about what I mean by that in a minute. The second one is information seeking strategies. What are all the possible sources, and then how can I narrow it down to the right sources I need for the right job, okay? Third stage is location and access. Fourth is, once we've located an access, now how do we use that? But think about it. Knowing how to use Xerox and highlight is a basic information skill that should be built into everything we do. Now, what's happened now, updating it to the 21st century, now we have the problem, the kids print out everything, right? Isn't that the problem? But you see, we never taught them the Xerox highlight method. So they don't know when you print out, then you have to highlight. Isn't that what we really want them to do? Or they can select and print out. Even better, save a little paper or whatever. So all they're doing is mimicking what you do, right? But we haven't worked on. These are the skills that we have to work on. These are the components, and all that takes place under Big Six, number 4. By the way, Xerox highlight is great, but then you need to do something with it, right? After you've highlighted, now we get synthesis, organizing it, and putting it together, which gets even tougher. It's much easier from note cards than it is from a Xerox highlighted thing, right? Anytime a child, student, of any age or whatever, is about to turn in their work, we should think evaluation. They should think, okay, I'm done. Is this okay? Is this good? If I were to do this again, what might I do differently? You want a quick thing that you take back to your classroom if you were teaching tomorrow? Your major assignments, not your everyday ones necessarily, but any of the ones that really count, right? Give the students a chance to respond For the older ones, they could do it in a writing, a one page, of what they would do differently if they could do it over. What's one change or two changes? Where did they have the most difficulty? They might say, you know, I probably could have used 2 or 3 more sources. Or if it's just something that you had given them on a map or something like that, say, if I had more time, I would have left a little more definition, or I would have colored it better, or who knows. But give them the chance to evaluate themselves. And then give them credit for being insightful, because that's learning, right? Now, of course, if they write the same change every time, you know, I should have used 2 more sources, I should have used 2 more sources. Now you say, hey, you said that last time, how come you didn't use 2 more sources? You know, we want that as well.
Yeah. Oh, because we have to develop it, right?
Click on 3 of them.
Right.
You can tell us what it is, and when we develop that, that's what you're going to fill in on both sides, and then we'll build it. We didn't have any information, like steps.
So this would be like a model for us, though?
Well, yeah, well, this will still be there, and then yours will be under it. So one of the things on the sheet is, what would you like to have about your own schools, and what kinds of things, and whatever?
One of the pages on his Big 6, did you get that far when you were on it? He had a sample lesson from some 7th grade teacher doing some subject, and that's what I like to see.
Very helpful, yeah. Well, and it would be a great kind of thing where, because, you know, I go into the net and put in Julius Caesar and then look for activities. If a teacher typed that in and then came up with a Big 6 activity that let, you know.
And the other thing, too, is that by doing this, we've agreed to help others beyond us.
So that's how
if we can build it kind of a base, and then we can say, look, here's where we've put some of our ideas down, you can add to them, and that'll be helpful.
Yeah, right. And see if anybody adds to it. One thing where the total quality helped me to a point, but I wanted to see how English teachers use total quality with Julius Caesar and Romeo and Juliet and writing
We
a
gotta
research
get together
paper.
more, because I use total quality all the time. That's all I do. But it was because I was around people who were using it prior to this experience. So, but this will be good, even I think for other English teachers, or, you know, I mean, I don't know if we could persuade them, but like if for a department meeting, you go and everybody pulls up this site and sees if there's something in their content area. It'll probably be heavy English because it's you and I, but as you interact with an American Studies teacher and do a project, you can put it on.
And how about the car thing?
We've got your car back here, right here.
They have it.
Two there, they're printing it out for me.
It's
They
a
have it.
convertible bed.
Convertible deck.
Yeah.
That's what Paul recommended, I should go to the back.
What'd you
Any
guys
man
pick?
in a midlife crisis needs a red convertible bed.
The Big 6 skills approach to information and technology skills instruction is a information problem-solving model involving a set of 6 distinct skills: task definition, information seeking strategy, location and access, information use, synthesis, and evaluation. These skills are the skills necessary to solve all information-based problems and make information-based decisions, whether those decisions or problems are academic, personal, or occur in the world of work. The teachers behind me are using those sets of skills, and along with their content area curriculum, to design instructional units which will infuse technology skills along with the Big 6 to teach content areas. The uniqueness of this project here in Chillicothe with the Great S.E.A.L Network Group is that this is an ongoing project. It is not simply a 4-day training institute, but includes a year-long emphasis on the Big 6 and its infusion into the content area curriculum, along with the technology, of course. Part of this project involves the development of a website which will incorporate all of the instructional units and the curriculum maps that the teams here are designing. Additionally, there will be online chats throughout the year on a regular monthly basis to involve all of the participants and keep the lines of communication open and the opportunities to share ideas about design and implementation of the Big 6 into content area curriculum and to instructional unit design.
You can do it all. Yeah, I heard it together.
Yeah, because define the problem and identify the information needed. I'm going to put this over. I'll have to get it all in here. Yeah. And then the brainstorm all possible sources. That'd be going
to people and learn how to ask us questions of the information and of themselves. Absolutely. That's great. You guys are doing great stuff.
And then once you get your web done,
Well, yeah, it's like page 1 on that.
Okay. Then we'll just keep it on going, and then that way then they have to start, and they have to, this is the bank they choose. Then they have to live by that for, say, 2 months. And then if they want to change their mind, they can change their mind, but they have to go back and look at everything and choose again. So make it a year long.
It's just like this one right here, to actually verbalize some activities and how you would go about it.
I think that's a lesson plan. I think an activity is just a vague list of all these different types of activities. Now, the next page, if you'll notice, is a detailed lesson plan. That's what you're shooting at, I think. This is my activity. This is introducing the unit on coral reefs and oceans.
Down and down and down.
Well, you're honed too fast.
You're antsy, I think.
You're honed fast.
I think we've kind of put our rationale in here that we want to encourage an appreciation of literature and help students to become readers, because it's different from our subject area objectives.
He asked in his initial comments, what will it do for kids? So I thought of it in these terms. When I explained it to the kids, here's why you're going to be good at knowing this. You're going to understand literature better. You're going to learn the uses of the studio. You're also going to learn how to create a presentation and make that presentation before your peers. They may not think that's a very fun thing to do, but 9 times out of 10, they're going to enter a workforce that requires them to do that very thing.
Right. But this, you could teach them how to download graphics off the internet. And they love it.
I had a dream on it.
And then you get the technology piece, you get the library piece, and you get the literature piece all in one.
I like to stop by.
And it doesn't have to be a great big technology.
And you said, well, why don't you stop
No,
by
it has to be
my
a satisfying technology piece. That's a real key. That it be satisfying and it builds the kids' confidence in using the technology, and it coordinates with something that's really important to them, which is language arts.
And themselves, they're doing a statement on their own lives.
That's right. So I think you had all the parts and pieces in place.
What do you want to see?
We want that page print.
Summarize what's going to be. Little more. No, I need
What we hope to do is have the students study different ecosystems, and we are beginning focusing on living and non-living organisms, what is an environment, how do animals adapt to their environment, how are they dependent on each other, classifications, and difference between predators and prey and how it affects food webs. And what we'd like the students for a culminating activity, we have several laboratory situations and observations of field experiences, is to be able for the students to, with Bob's help, design, create an animal and its environment. So this is the synthesis part. What have they learned about environments, and how can they create something and put in a creative environment?
I'm Chelsea Anderson from Chillicothe High School, and we're working with the library media specialist, Jane Honnold, who's another English teacher, and Doug Wood, who's the technology person for the district. So anyway, those are the areas that we're integrating. We're not really bringing in American Studies or anything. Our unit is video book talks through independent reading every week. The students, they're going to be reading their own novels. The students then will write a critical analysis, and they have to look at theme, author's purpose, and technique, and then create their own props in our production room, and then use the TV studio to actually film sort of like a reading rainbow book critique sort of format, and they'll have props and all of that stuff. So we're designing 9 lessons as a part of the unit. It'll take 9 weeks, even though that won't be our only focus in the class. It'll be kind of like an undertone the whole time, and then it'll culminate at the end of the 9 weeks. I didn't do the focus questions. The big 6 objectives, we figured that the teachers will mostly the four of us will mostly focus on 1 through 3, the task definition, the information seeking, and location access. But then the kids would mostly do the 4, 5, and 6 because they'd be using the information from the book, synthesizing it in a presentation, and then evaluating themselves and each other.
Information seeking strategies is what we're going to talk about today. Okay? Now, why is it important to have an information seeking strategy? Yes?
So you can get your information quickly and what you need.
Exactly. So you can get your information quickly. And that's, yeah, well, no, we're not going to find answers. I don't care if you know the answer necessarily. I just want you to think about where you would find the answer. Or what your strategy would be. Where would you go look? Now, if the first place you look doesn't work, what would be your second choice?
We need audio. All right, hold your horse. Are you on? Is it on? Switch on these things? Yeah, you're on. I'm on. We're on. Oh, yes. Now, on, everybody. Why don't you yell out?
We're just trying to figure out how to run this place.
Yeah, basically you're trying to, how to make the broadcast. How do you get a video?
It's like a thing right here that switches the two things. One of those little buttons. Camera 1, camera 2. That's how you switch different camera angles. Like that. You're on mine, now you're on his. Oh, I caught it. I'm good.
That is good.
I got that. Whoa! See me. What's your needle doing?
Going in the red.
Something's wrong.
What can we do to fix that?
How's the audio coming?
It's kind of hot.
Hey, look. Okay, I don't think we put it in the red. That usually indicates bad. Like
We can see it here.
It's bad.
It's called overmodulation, yeah.
You might be thinking about your props while you're working, what you might do for your books too.
You took a big piece of that paper and had it hung on the wall behind you while you're talking. That would look pretty sharp.
Like, is that really the head
The
is...
camera person can zoom in on a certain picture on a collage while you're talking.
Is that really on?
It's the camera a little bit. That's always. If you want to reinforce it, or you can move this over. And
Perfect.
what's backup mean?
Back up, like move away from the camera.
Get one going this way. You want to do that, or you want to hook it on this? How do you fade out a little bit?
So if you're looking for a book, either for a...
Looking for a good...
So if you're looking for a good book about
Vietnam,
or just looking...
Check this one out.
Or just an enthusiastic reader looking for a good book, Fortune of the Sun.
So if you like to read about Vietnam or just an enthusiastic reader looking for a good book.
What do you...
And finally, I'd just like to tell you that this is a good book, and I recommend it for everyone.
Yeah. Done. That's how you do. That's cut.
Hey, can we edit, like, you know how I said his knowledge from his events, or his events from his not? I said something. I mixed it up. Can we edit that back and doubt it? No.
It'd be pretty difficult to edit
Nobody
just
will
one
notice.
piece. I hope not.
Nobody will pay attention.
So what do you think?
What happened to the
It's not
camera?
bad.
Why is it like
It's
that?
pretty good.
For the first one, it's not bad.
I think you're right.
One, instead of being a source, can be a summary. Because we all know that sometimes you get conflicting information from different sources. Or you get some information from one source that answers the question, and in another source you get additional information. And so you can put in a summary. And a simple generic strategy like this really works well in a variety of different instructional situations at a variety of different grade levels, and teaches the kids the importance of note-taking, teaches them the importance of citing, it teaches them the importance of not plagiarizing, because in a little box that's only a 2x2, you can't write the entire encyclopedia article on bear.
Big Six project, and each of the, this is Hyper Studio. I know I'm not in the way, but I've set it up in 3 different areas, and those green things are 3 different buttons. And the Hyper Studio project, you do not need Hyper Studio to play this. You just put it all on the CD, and it has a Hyper Studio player, so you can put it on supposedly any computer. It'll just run for anybody. And then we went through the lesson plans, and this is the stuff that they spent the whole week on. And on the lesson plan page, there's 6 lesson plans, so they can go to any lesson plan and see what their whole lesson plan is. We'll pick one, for instance, like create a critter. So if they're going to work that day on making their own particular animal that they decided on, because the activities they want to try to do, big skills that are involved, because of space and all that, I didn't explain those particular things. This is her student's approach. After talking and everything, task definition, they just broke it down to 3rd graders. I think they're great, and they came up with this stuff. This is their Big 6, the way they look at it, and that's the way they talk about it. Then, so the day I went to her class, particularly and watched, I picked out a few kids, and this is Drew. And Drew's team had these ideas, and so those are basically, say you didn't have speakers, or this is on the internet too, so if you can't hear it, I put it basically a little bit in words, but this is what Drew says. If you get it.
My name is Drew. Our class is researching spiders. These are simple questions that we are going to find the answers to. How does a spinach spread? How does a train spread? How does a rock live? It's food. Where does it live? What does it eat? Is it nervous?
Okay, so those are questions their little team was working on spiders.
So how did, could you talk about
that was
these
my
bits?
problem. Where am I going to take away from the curriculum to do this instruction for this particular model? And I have science and math, so I was going to have to infringe on some language arts time, and so I really had a hard time. Dave had to kickstart me a few times. So then I thought, I think one of the chats, the first chats that we had, I think one of you guys said, take it down into small parts. Because I kept thinking, I've got to get it all done before we do this major project, or science is a half-year life science, and I'm like, I've got to get this taught. So then it just stopped, and it didn't try to push it, didn't try to rush it. Where it fit into the curriculum, that's where we put it in, as it fit, not trying to teach a lesson. Today we're going to learn task definition. I kind of did that. So relax us a little bit, and we'll get it done.
Teach, yes, basically I teach this unit. But in different ways. Now, this year I'm teaching it differently because I'm using focusing on those. Yeah, and it's easier. I'm finding the units are easier to teach using these steps. I'm getting better results.
How come?
Because I think they're more focused.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe I am.
Oh.
Maybe it's me.
Yeah.
It's probably me, and then it makes them.
And then it makes them. And they have a strategy to follow.
Exactly.
Right. And you can teach to the strategy while you're teaching to the content. For me, the balance at this point with the students that I work with is more on, do they understand what they're really looking for? I have lots of kids who search and find stuff, but it doesn't really meet their information needs. It's pretty easy to find stuff, but it's not so easy to find the stuff you really need. Whatever that is, whether it's a website or whether it's an article.
And then every class that has come into the library just about to do something, I've just sort of tried to change what they're doing and have them use the Big 6. And I was explaining to Charlotte how one English teacher is doing research papers and first period, as opposed to her students doing this with the Big 6. They started on a day that I was at a meeting, and we aren't using the Big 6, and there is a world of difference. And they are copying. They don't have a problem to look for. They're writing a paper on a topic they picked. There's no narrowing down. There's really very little task definition. I'm helping them a little bit find information, but there's a world of difference. Her kids are engaged. They're busy. They're working in groups. These other papers are going to be just same old, copied out of whatever. And it's just a world of difference. So her students are really learning a lot of skills.
Choose a controversial topic that they would engage in. And I kept remembering your point that you always said, what's the point? Why are you having them do this? So I narrowed it down. When I narrowed down what I wanted the students to do, then they were able to focus in. They were able to come up with a controversial topic. they became interested in it, they became excited about it, they would sit in class and debate it, they would engage in discussions, and it made the whole process a lot better. Their mechanics were terrible, like usual, like lower students, but their content was great.
And
I
the
thought
thinking.
there was real thinking, and I even had kids who changed their minds on their opinions. As they found information, they would come back to me halfway through the project and say, can I rewrite this? And I said, absolutely, because this is all part of being an adult, formulating opinions, knowing why you feel the way you do, why you think the way you do, and going back to what he was saying about gathering information, that was something I really focused on, access and location of information, because I wanted my kids to be lifelong learners and to really be able to find, whereas before when I did the old research papers, I would more or less hand them the information and say, here, this is what you need, write your paper. But it became a whole different thing, and I really had a lot of success with it with my research papers.
Things that I'm hearing is that people are noticing a difference between a situation, an instructional unit where students have an opportunity to make a decision and solve a problem versus follow a recipe. And when they follow a recipe, they tend not to buy in. They tend not to engage in those high-order thinking skills that we're interested in teaching our kids. And but when they follow a recipe, what they tend to do is simply do it for the sake of doing it and getting it done and turning in the project. So that was really, something that I've heard in the last few minutes that was really important for me to hear. But then you have to be able to physically compare this year's to last year's.
Well, actually, having last year's is very beneficial because I know things that didn't work last year, so I tried to steer them away from the same mistakes we've made before.
But then what happens next year when they're in 4th grade and they're not doing the same process?
That becomes, that's why we want this to grow.
I'm Bob Berkowitz. I am co-architect along with Michael Eisenberg of the Big Six Skills Approach to Information and Technology Skills Instruction. I'm here in the Ross and Pickaway counties area at...
Hang on a second. I saw that coming.
Bloopers. I'm on the bloopers now.
That's right. We will have this all at the end, okay?
I know you don't.